We're going to go over some of the information over at Blacklisted News. This is the Lama. This is, in case you missed it, cold reality of what we're seeing out there. The impeachment garbage still reigns on. This, just the further validation of the fiction, keeping the fiction going. The cartoon, the movie that gets played for us every day. And it's hard to tell. It's hard to make sense of this insanity. I don't think anything's going to come of it. I think it's actually going to increase Donald Trump's popularity. I don't know how to make heads or tails of the economy, but it is propped up, and it is not what it seems. I don't know that that the economy got better as soon as Trump got in there and Obama was on his way out. I don't know if that's the case. I'm not a financial analyst. I do post Max Kaiser's programs from time to time. I don't get all of them up on the site. But you can find, in case you missed it, you can find that on Spotify. You can find it on a number of other platforms, Apple, Google. You can find them over there. In case you missed it, it's probably about 15 or 16 podcasts over there of all different types, mishmash of things, if you will. Max Kaiser, recorded podcasts. Crosstalk over there on RT. Some pretty heavy hitting, revealing pieces of information that come from outside of the American empire, the American corporation. But then again, Russia is a corporation as well. I can't imagine how it would not be. Of course, the Pensacola gunman hosted party to watch mass shooting videos. What the absolute, how can we be like totally positive that these things happen the way that they did, who this gunman was, quoting apparently bin Laden. 6 others arrested, filmed attack. Saudis distance themselves. Okay, this really just kind of reeks of, and it's bad news. It reeks of like a rebooting of certain types of events, and we really are moving into an absolute insane period of time. Obviously, things slowly get crazy, but now I just think that with the Trump impeachment information and Nancy Pelosi pushing 80 and dementia, obviously something going on, her brain riddled with fucking holes, I imagine, from all of her vaccines, and her future is going to be a fucking zombie vegetable after they've used her, after the system has used her to do its bidding. There's no victims, just volunteers, remember. Now, we didn't volunteer to be, in the citizenship, in the fiction, but, you'll, listen. I listen to any number of conversations that Clint has with people, and one of the better ones, and I'm going to post it very soon, was a conversation that Clint had with Crow 777 and Jason Lindgren. Crow 777. You just kind of Google that. Crow with 2 R's, I believe. CRROW 777. And they have really, really incredible podcasts over there. They really, really cover things very nicely. They they cover so much. Really, it's good. I mean, I interviewed them. I actually should probably post that. I'll be able to find that and I'll post that. I spoke with a man by the name of Wayne McCroy, author of 2 books on AI and just incredible information there. I spoke with him. I reached out over the summer and I had a conversation with him, recorded it, and went over on UCY, Cold Reality, UCY.tv, Cold Reality. And then not too much longer after that, I got an email from Crow's handler, or the person that, or I don't think it was him, but he has, maybe his wife or somebody reached out and said, "Hey, we'd like to join you. We'd like to have a conversation with you, like you did with Wayne." And so we set that up, and we had a really cool conversation. And so the conversation that Clint had with Crow and Jason was really, really just, I thought it was groundbreaking. I mean, I've had any number of conversations with Clint. I've been out to Utah and hung out with him. I probably posted about 4 hours of conversation with Clint when I was passing through on my way to California, Sacramento area. And of course that is, the area where Clint grew up. And so there, there's just it's just ties and things there that are just like, well, this is kind of cool. Part of my family lives out there. You grew up there. So I don't think there's any coincidences. I think that, I was definitely my path. I don't make any money doing this. I don't want to make any money doing it. I mean, if some money came through, then yeah. Would I use it? Yeah. Or donations, you say, not so much money, but donations or whatever. If I got a donation on my podcast, I would most likely turn it over and send it to Jules over at UCY for tolerating and somehow, some way finding something interesting about Cold Reality Radio, morphing into, in case you missed it. And that was just kind of like a spur of the moment thing. Like, I'm going to put this thing here on Anchor.fm and see what it is. I'll be able to upload things and whatever. Next thing you know, never mind. Please. Sorry for this chair. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare chair. It's squeaky. It's the chair from hell. Anyway, so yeah, if I got any donations, I would most likely, send them over to UCY for all Jules and all of her hard work over the years when UCY was a live programming, and then after a certain point, it just kind of went to uploads and things like that, which is fine. Still, it's still awesome to have that platform. So thanks to Jules over there for still kind of keeping things together after some tough times and things where I probably would have just threw the towel in. But I just feel kind of compelled to want to, continue to just talk about things that most people either have no understanding of, they don't want to know or whatever. I just want to talk about it. So the conversation that Crow had with Clint with Crow was really, really awesome. And through the thing there where Clint's saying, we're in this system, and the only thing that gets you out of this system that eradicates your straw man is a death certificate. The birth certificate brings you in, the death certificate takes you out. If you don't use your social security number in 7 years, you can be legally declared dead, which means you can't participate in this internment camp, by which they decide what is what. They give a name to everything. They make things corporations. They do this, they do that. It is all the exact opposite of what was intended. And so many things point that out. Do not respect flattering titles. Do not no respect of persons. If you're a person, then you're not natural. You're not a natural man. You're not John or Jim, or you're John surname, Jim surname, Jane surname, Janet surname. And then you become a corporation. You become a live stock. Your birth certificate is a bank note. But the thing is that as this is being explained, and people know that if they're outside of this system, that they're not going to be able to participate in all of the things that the devil has seduced them with. The foods, and Crow kept on reaching back to Neo when he was removed from his matrix womb, and he had to eat the green gruel, the tasty oats and all that stuff, and it was like disgusting. And then what was it? Cyrus was like, "I know this steak isn't real, but it tastes so good." It was this, and Crow's, he's a good interviewer, and he's searching for truth. There's no lie in nature. There's all this stuff, and I respect that and everything. It's the same thing happened with him that happens with so many other people. When you get pushed to the point where you're being told that you're operating, you're a vessel in this Luciferian satanic system where everything has a price, everything has a dollar amount. Once you get to that point, then you start making excuses. You start making excuses. Like even Owen Benjamin, in one of his recent podcasts, after he came back from the convention, the Earth Shape Revisionist Convention. You don't want to say, I don't want to trigger anybody. Trigger those Star Wars people that believe certain things, and the Star Trek people that believe things that are truly, slowly becoming just an absolute joke about what we've been indoctrinated with. And so Crow would just, he's just like, well, how do you do this? How do you do that? But Owen Benjamin said, he didn't say Clint's name, but he mentioned, the system. Like he knows this. He heard that podcast where Clint is sitting there saying that the system has you, the Matrix has you, and you're not, and it's not a good thing. And Clint can get to a point where his passion turns from not so much for me, because I understand where he's coming from. I understand that there's a lot of pain And there's a lot of things that go along with realizing that you have been deceived, that we have been deceived, collectively deceived, and things have been taken from us. Things have been stolen from us that we're never, ever going to get back. And that's just a smidgen pinch of how fucked up that is. So when Clint is pouring out this information and this knowledge that he has sacrificed so much time to be able to bring to the table, it sounds arrogant. He starts to sound a bit arrogant, but I get it. I don't think he's arrogant. I hear someone who is disappointed. I hear someone who is, I don't hear arrogance. I hear disappointment. I hear anger at times, and it's all justified. Okay. Now, Crow, he has a level of arrogance over there on that side that, that you hear from time to time. Like, I feel like, hey, dude, you're searching for truth. Don't, judge people for this. And just, we all get to a point where we start judging. We feel like we're judging people. And then as soon as people start feeling like they're being judged or singled out, then this whole cycle of just dysfunction starts. And of course, it starts with the person, delivering a message that is not popular, delivering a message that is not, that you don't hear at the dinner table. Where I mentioned one of my last live, not one of my last live podcasts, one of my last probably like 2 weeks ago. Recorded this, sent it to Jules, and I don't know that I even I'd actually I sent it over to the Anchor platform. It's just, you hear how everyone is indoctrinated into this system, and they wouldn't ever want to leave it because they wouldn't get any of the benefits of it. There's too many things inside the matrix that people would miss. Problem is that they manufacture consent. Consent is given on any number of levels. The cell phones are absolutely damaging people's minds. Okay. Absolutely. There is brain damage. And I really, truly believe that, along with the toxic foods, the toxic diets, the toxic, the engineering, the skies being filled with particulates. It's all moving in a direction. You're seeing people doing things that are absolutely insane on the highways. Absolutely insane. They should be, they should be pulled over, citizen's arrest, whatever, and locked up and never, ever have the ability to drive again. You just cannot believe that people are in that much of a hurry to risk their lives. Because at those speeds, all it takes is like one little second of one little something, one little this, one little that. And you just, and if that doesn't click, or that doesn't jive, then there's something wrong. There's something really, really wrong out there. It takes me roughly about an hour to get to work. And so I leave. I give myself an hour and a half. Just in case there's something here, something there. Sometimes I leave, I have to be there at 8:30. Sometimes I leave at 6:45. Sometimes I leave at 6:30. Just so I can move down the road a little bit freer. get to my location, and then just chill out for a bit. Decompress from, being, in a vehicle. And if the authorities wanted money, they could seriously figure out a way. They could seriously figure out a way to find the people that are doing this and just mark it down and then just kind of be like, we've been watching you drive, or this car, were you in this car, blah, blah, blah. On this day, were you in this? I mean, there's ways to do it, and it's coming. It's coming. But just as we move through this whole thing, it's all going to be part of the clampdown, shutdown of increased full spectrum domination. They're going to let things get to a point where the people are begging to be enslaved even more, and they'll get it. But they won't think that they're going to. They leave it up to other people. They leave it up to politicians, lawyers. They leave it up to police officers. They leave it up to, intelligence agencies and all this other stuff. It's bad news, man. It's just all bad news. And then sooner or later, bam, you're going to have a society where everything's everything. And if these people do create chaos on the roads and cause accidents and things like that, I hope that they throw the book at them and they get just put in a cell. And they're animals. I mean, you cannot legitimately do that on the road and think that it's okay. We're driving vehicles that can kill. And, if everybody just drove 65 miles an hour, there'd be less of a risk of accidents. There'd be less of a risk of stress and things like that. Maybe cars should just be programmed to, go no faster than 70 miles an hour. You see that. And I'm sitting here and I'm saying things that I would never say. But the reason why I say that is I don't want these insane mongrels hurting me or hurting somebody that I care about. And what is it? It all turns around. The reason why the world is in the condition that it is today is because good people do nothing. Good people do nothing. Good people do nothing. They just sit back and they take it. They take it. And so, being in the system, being part of the United States corporation is just fine and dandy for people. They know it's wrong. The people that have been exposed to it, they know that it's wrong, but they won't. I mean, the system would collapse if people would stop participating in it, would stop believing in it. And we know that Clint said any number of times that believe, when you say the actual definition of believe is to love. I believe. And when they say I believe in America, they say I love America. And there's nothing wrong with saying that. But they shouldn't be saying it. And I've said this and I've been thinking, and I don't know if I heard, because I listened to this podcast any number of times. And every time that I hear it and I listen to it, because there's so much, it's so like onion layer, deep with information. And of course, it's cognitively, against what we've been indoctrinated with. Not so much me anymore, but other people, and they hear it, they just can't even believe that it's an actual thing. That really, it's a corporation? No. When it totally is. And the few have, in a grand style, have figured out a way how to control the many and the masses. And if they can't control the masses, then they kill them and make it look like something else. So, on this December 7th, is this the date that will live in infamy? Another banker war, another bloodline, genealogical banker war that people thought happened for many other reasons than for what the actual reason was. It's pretty insane. So, I don't know if you're aware of this, and I'm not doing any programs or things for Alex Jones, but he's got band.video now. Band.video. You can watch all your favorite stuff over there. If, I listen from time to time. I will see this depending on what the link is or whatever, if it's something that I have interest in. But I can see through Jones's, his system, his design. Okay. Where now that he is kind of outside of the realm of he's banned from all of these platforms and he's losing money. He's weakened. Yeah, he is one of the bloodlines of these Illuminati bloodlines. There is no doubt about it. That became abundantly clear after a number of years of listening to the Info Warrior. And so over there at Band, and now, of course, because he is not sitting in a seat of power anymore, in a certain manner of speaking, he now is adopting and having people on that he would not have otherwise had on a number of years ago, or at all, for that matter. Like E. Michael Jones. The E. Michael Jones, the 71, 72-year-old historian who has been labeled any number of different, has been given a number of different titles by the system. Anti-Semite, this, that, and the other thing. And so you see that, and I was like, wow, initially kind of surprised, but then no. Then you see him having a kind of covering the Earth shape cosmology revision topic, giving it a kind of a stamp, might not too much ink on the stamp, but a stamp nonetheless. And so he's kind of doing these things because he's losing ground. He's losing ground, which I guess I figured was always going to happen at some point. I met Jones at one point, and if you listen to the podcast over at UCY from time to time, you'll hear him endorsing my program. Whatever my program is, whatever, it's just a regular guy. I'm not a part of the system. I'm not paid by the system to push, anti-New World Order or pro-New World Order type things. And of course, it's not even a New World Order. A world government has largely expanded and was always in place, especially when your birth certificate is a banknote. And that's been going on for some time now. So that's world government right there. And when the Social Security system / design is in place in most countries, world government is already here. World government was here before Jones started his career in what my friend Greg says, the conspindustry industry. Correct, very well labeled observation there. Took me a while because I'm not so smart to figure out that, Jones is, a master manipulator of things. And he'll pay for some of that. Do I think that he has a concern that the world is going to change and that his lifestyle is going to change, and he's got a son and a daughter and all these, you can be a bloodline family member of this Illuminati, but not be in the inner circle. All right. So, do I think that he cares about his family? His seed? Absolutely. I think that he's trying to do something to, do I think that he's completely evil? I don't think he is. I just think that he is benefiting from a system that he knows is going to collapse and that there's nothing that he could really do except fight the info war and make a lot of money doing it. Super male vitality. Rob Dew and the crew. Paul Joseph Watson still making really good videos there. He put one out there that's the kind of the infantilization of popular culture, which I thought was really good. I think he's a smart guy. I really think he's a smart guy.
Parade of vapid comic book superhero movies.
Vapid comic book superheroes. Paul Joseph Watson for Infowars.com. So, he makes a lot of really good videos, but, he also kind of goes along with the whole Muslim thing and the never really pointing out certain things, certain obvious things. It's just goofy. It's just goofy time. But, it's entertainment. It's entertainment, and he points these things out and he triggers people because people should be triggered. People should be triggered. They're not paying attention. They're not keeping their eye on the ball or the plane or whatever you like, whatever you think is important. But yeah, there is and I agree, there is an infantilization of popular culture with all the Spider-Mans and the Supermans and all that stuff. And you see the 20-somethings and even the 30-somethings just loving it, just loving on, and I watch them too, but I don't know that, I kind of like the whole Iron Man thing. I like that whole, this is just a normal guy who built this incredible, suit and everything. There is something very, very cool about it, but there also is an element of it that infantilizes, these, it was built for, and in this segment here, this 12-minute segment, it was built for the 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old, thing, that element of society. But it has really kind of snowballed into, this worship of these things. Is it cool to think of, somebody getting bitten by a radioactive spider and then becoming this wall crawling, super strength, all that other stuff? Yeah, it's kind of cool, but it's not reality, and it's not something that should be. It's not something that should overpower your entire life. Cell phones should not overpower your life to the point where if you leave it at home, if you don't need it for your job, leave it at home. I'm personally sick of having to have this thing tethered to me all the time. It's causing brain damage. It's creating zombies. It's creating anger. It's creating a lot of really, really bad characteristics. They're showing. They're rearing their ugly head, and they're on the highways, and they're in the shopping centers, and they're disconnected from reality. They're connected into, surprise, a false reality. They knew that these cell phones were dangerous. They knew what they would do. The obsession. Is it the mark of the beast? Well, they already consider us beasts. So consider us marked. Consider us marked. And so, what else we got here? France bans 2 U.S. pesticides, citing risk to bees. French authorities on Wednesday banned 2 U.S. pesticides, which ecologists deem harmful to bees. A court in Nice ruling in a case brought by 2 ecological associations banned the products from U.S. group Dow AgroSciences on the grounds that they're containing sulfoxaflor, which was harmful to bees' nervous systems. Okay, now this has been a story for a long time in the alternative media, talking about pesticides. I've made any number of comments talking about stories, documentaries, Poisoning Paradise, which was on RT, about one of the islands over in Hawaii that is a testing ground for big pesticide. And people are getting sick, and people are just being tortured. Because that's what U.S. Code says in there. You have the right to be tortured when you become a citizen. Even if you weren't a citizen, even if you were a natural man or woman, you'd still be affected by these poisons. There's no way to get around it. I mean, the creation of them is completely unnecessary. They make up bullshit stories about how we need to do this and we need to do that to protect the crops and this and that and the other thing. Slowly push it out there, slowly get it into the ether, and then boom, you're blasted. It's out there. And then not only do they have one, but then they got to make another one. Not only do they have this one, but then they got to make that one. They were made for a reason. And I think that reason and the objective has been reached. Two pigs engineered to have monkey cells born in China. China. Pig primate chimeras have been born live for the first time, but died within a week. Yeah, well, when you do something that you were not ever supposed to do with creation, that's going to happen. Two piglets created by a team in China looked normal, although a small proportion of their cells were derived from cynomolgus monkeys. This is the first report of a full-term pig-monkey chimera, says Tang Hai at the State Key Laboratory of Stem Cell and Reproductive Biology in Beijing. Radio voice. So that's what we had to look forward to. Monkey cells. Russian billionaire killed by vehicle while walking his dog in England. A Russian billionaire was killed in a road collision while walking his dog. I don't think this was an accident. In England last week, it has been confirmed. Surrey police released a statement on Thursday confirming that Dmitry Obratetsky, 49, died on November 30th following an incident in a village near London town, foggy London town. The collision involved 3 vehicles. Officers confirmed no arrests have been made and an investigation is ongoing. Radio voice. Yeah, he's a billionaire and he's Russian. Sounds fishy. Or smells fishy. U.S. Says drone shot down by Russian air defenses near Libyan capital. The U.S. military believes that an unarmed American drone reported lost near Libya's capital, or Libya, the place that France and America went in and raped and pillaged and destroyed and made it look like it was something other than it was. The reason why they went in there. He was killing his own people. He had to be dealt with. He had to be dealt with. Send America. Fuck yeah. America. So that happened. Why are cops or police around the world using this outlandish mind-reading tool? Police are using a controversial mind-reading tool called SCAN, or SCAN. It is a product sold by a company called the Laboratory for Scientific Interrogation, or LSI. In the words of 4 scholars in a 2016 study, no empirical support, meaning there's no dependable research showing that it works. Yet SCAN's creator has written, I am pleased to say SCAN has helped solve thousands of cases over the years. You can find that story over at Blacklisted News, Doug Owens, blacklistednews.com. It's probably doing something else. It's probably, turning cells cancerous in your body and then you die. And you can't even tie it back to SCAN. The interrogation tool. Saudi Arabia in U.S. for training suspected in deadly shooting at the Florida Naval Base. A Saudi Air Force second lieutenant killed 4 people and wounded 8 others on Friday in an unexplained shooting rampage at a U.S. Navy base in Florida where he was training. Kind of like the guys that were supposedly here and Hani Hanoa. I am Hani Hanor, and I will fly and do things that planes cannot do, or pilots for that matter. And I will fly it right into the biggest building with all of these cameras, but yet you will only get 4 frames. Years later, only 4 frames. Hani Hanor. Ooh, the boogeyman, Hani. 4 frames, by the way. Huge facility. 4 frames of a something hitting the ground. 4 frames. Nothing conclusive. Nothing to see here. Just move on. Sheriff's deputies responding to the early morning incident shot and killed the gunman who was armed with a handgun at the U.S. Naval Station in Pensacola. Navy and local enforcement officials said. Radio voice. NYU Shanghai quietly adds communist sympathizing pro-Chinese government course. Great. Just more education, that's the problem in America. Just the education. That's what it is. And people are not educated enough. That's the problem, see? Education's the problem. All we have to do is educate people more, and everything will be fine. Okay? Everything will be just dandy, okay? More education, okay? Magic mushrooms in a nasal spray? Yes, please. As scientists make great strides in their research on psychedelic therapies for depression, PTSD, OCD, addiction, and other conditions, new ways to deliver the drugs are also emerging from laboratories. Oregon company Silo Wellness announced the availability of a new nasal spray for psilocybin, the psychoactive ingredient in magic mushrooms. Radio voice. So look forward to that. They put the flu shots into the nasal spray, right? Get it right into your fucking brain. Get it right into your cerebellum, your cerebella. Your pineapple gland, right in there, man. Get it right in there. Gilead's delayed safer HIV drug to extend monopoly profits, advocates allege. In 2005, Gilead Sciences notified federal regulators that it was suspending development of a potentially safer, more potent HIV-fighting drug than the one on the market. The company did not restart its Food and Drug Administration application until 2010. Now, the 5-year delay of a promising drug is at the core of accusations by advocates that Gilead improperly exploited the patent system at the expense of patient health. That's not like that's not like them. That's not like a drug company to exploit the patent system. But whatever the drug is, I'm sure it's fucking deadly. Elon Musk back in the news. He did not defame British cave explorer. A jury finds. Guess what? Fuck Elon Musk. And fuck the Pope while you're at it. Fuck him. Epstein was a Mossad agent used to blackmail American politicians, former Israeli spy claims. Jeffrey Epstein was a Mossad asset who was used by Israeli intelligence to blackmail American politicians. According to a former Israeli spy, Ari Ben Menashe, a former Israeli spy and alleged handler of Robert Maxwell, That's what that Ghislaine Maxwell's father told the authors of a new book, Epstein, Dead Men Tell No Tales. And guess what? He ain't dead. He ain't dead. He ain't dead. That Epstein ran a complex intelligence operation at the behest of the Mossad. Yeah, he ain't dead. If you think he's fucking dead, you have your head in fucking Turd Town. Oh, here's a good one. This one will stimulate your... LAPD cop's own body camera caught him fondling a dead woman's breast. A veteran Los Angeles police officer is facing an investigation after footage from his own body-worn camera appeared to show him groping a recently deceased woman's breast. The officer and his partner, also male, had responded to a call about a possible dead body in a residential unit, reports the Los Angeles Times. I don't know what to say about that, really. That's fucking insane. Is there a dead body? Yeah, there's a dead body there. Does it have breasts? I mean, that story alone really, really kind of epitomizes, along with others, that we are so fucked. We are so fucked. As long as I have some authority, I'm going to do things with dead bodies. I mean, that's just going to happen, okay? Can you just imagine the court case? Listen, I protect the public. And I was just simply protecting these breasts from any elements that would have been out there. Like if someone else were to come up and fondle these breasts, I stopped that from happening. I actually need to read more of this. This is just too good. It's bad. It's bad on its face. It's bad. But this really, themindunleashed.com. Let's get it right from the sauce. Let's get it right from the sauce. Shall we? No, thank you. Before he began, the accused officer turned off his body camera before he began. Actually, he forgot where the off button was. A veteran, officer and his partner, also male. We already read that. When the officers determined the woman was dead, one of the officers left the scene to fetch something from his patrol car. At that point, the accused officer turned off his body camera before he allegedly began fondling the dead woman's breasts, LAPD officials claim. According to a person briefed on the incident who spoke with the Associated Press, footage of the incident was only captured because of the continuous 2-minute buffering period that the cameras are equipped with, resulting in the act being recorded during the 2 minutes before the camera was turned back on. So why is there a 2-minute thing programmed into it so that it still records? Is that what I read? The incident was only captured because of the continuous 2-minute buffering period that they're equipped with. There's something that doesn't make sense about that, because it said, so if it's turned off but then it doesn't turn off, and there's a 2-minute buffering period where the cameras are equipped with, resulting in the act being recorded during the 2 minutes before the camera was turned back on. So it was never off. That's what it sounds like to me. Anyway. Even the Los Angeles Police Protective League, the LAPPL, the police union that is typically steadfast in its defense of sworn officers accused of grave misconduct, appeared eager to distance itself from the alleged ghoulish act. In a statement quoted by the Times, the LAPPL said, "If this allegation is true, then the behavior exhibited by this officer is not only wrong, but extremely disturbing, and does not align with the values we, as police officers, hold dear, and these values include respect and reverence for the deceased. This behavior has no place in law enforcement." The incident was discovered by LAPD leadership due to routine random checks of body cam footage, a source close to the investigation told the Times. LAPD leadership had only reached an agreement last month with the LAPPL for recordings not involving arrest or the use of force to be randomly checked, mainly so that supervisors could seek insights on potential misconduct, biased and rude policing, or other behavior requiring additional training. Now, honestly, that may be a good thing, where if it's actually done, where they think that they're turning it off. Now, why would you turn it off? Because maybe you're going to do something that you're not supposed to do, you don't want recorded. So make them think that they're turning it off, but then they're not really turning it off. And then you find out who's a bag of shit, and you find out other things too. However, the source noted LAPD Central Division management is furious over the recent alleged incident, which is seen within the department as way beyond the pale or unacceptable. Anyway, that's pretty insane, huh? Two civilians die as police and robbers exchange gunfire on busy intersection after high-speed chase in Florida. Massive leak confirms Turkey's gold for gas scheme to evade U.S. sanctions on Iran. We first started noticing major odd exports of gold from Turkey to Iran in 2012. Turkey's trade balance fluctuated wildly as gold stocks flowed out of the country in bursts. Then in 2014, we discussed Turkey's 200 tons of secret gold trade with Iran, detailing how a complex network that spanned Turkey, China, Dubai, and Iran was used to skirt U.S. sanctions on energy exports from Iran. Now, I truly believe that this window was left open because they don't really want the sanctions. They just want, I honestly think they just want it to seem like there are sanctions, and I'm sure there are some, but then there are ways that these sanctions can be, kind of avoided, if you will. Just like we will go to jail for something ridiculous, and bankers and all these other high level politicians and all these other things that they do that kill children in other countries and all these awful things, they don't get any kind of they never see any justice there. It's insane, man. Turkey says they are going to continue it. The Turkish economy minister said if those casting aspersions on the gold trade are searching for immorality, they should take a look in the mirror, yo. Turkey time. All right, so got myself a beer, eating some popcorn, yo. Talking about the news. All right. In Kenya, a Nairobi governor arrested for economic crimes. The governor of Nairobi was arrested on Friday shortly after Kenya's chief prosecutor ordered he be detained to face charges for economic crimes. Governor Mike Sonko, doesn't sound like an African name, is the latest in a string of top officials being hauled in on corruption charges as Kenya battles to clamp down on rampant graft. Is that theft? Is that what theft is in Africa? Or Kenya, yo? Well, that Africa's been raped and fucking pillaged for years by the same people. The DHS wanted to add U.S. citizens to the long list of people subjected to mandatory face scans at airports, but has backed down for now. For now, we will back down. We knew that the DHS would get to this point eventually, since the beginning of its biometric scanning program rollout. The DHS has planned on adding U.S. citizens to the list of people being forced to trade their faces for air travel privileges. So far, the program has been limited to suspicious foreigners, which is all of them, including those here on visas. But a recent filing caught by Zach Whitaker at TechCrunch says flying in the United States would soon require adding yourself to the government's facial recognition database. Oh, yeah. Full spectrum domination, folks. It's what's for dinner. Hunter Biden's lawyer abruptly quits after Father of the Year blows off child support hearing. Hunter Biden's lawyer abruptly quit on Monday after the former vice president's son and Ukraine energy expert failed to show up for a child support hearing regarding his out-of-wedlock child with a D.C. stripper from Arkansas. According to the Daily Mail, lawyer Dustin McDaniel, the former attorney general for Arkansas, filed a motion to withdraw after he says Biden's personal lawyer advised him that he was being discharged. All right. You never hear about his child out of wedlock on any of these programs, right? Never. Never heard of it. Let's find out what's going on over at RT.
3 people are killed after a Saudi Air Force trainee opens fire at a U.S. naval base in Florida. The authorities are investigating whether it's terror-related. Tensions spike between North Korea and the United States as Pyongyang says it's no longer willing to hold talks on its nuclear program. And no laughing matter. A UK dementia charity sharply criticises online retailers for selling a Christmas card, making fun of Alzheimer's sufferers.
There are ways you can craft jokes in order to situate the humour away from people's vulnerability.
My father had Alzheimer's before he died, and I didn't find it funny, ever.
Hi there. Saturday evening at 11 here in Moscow. My name's Colin Bray. Welcome to your world news from RT International. The first story we're across this weekend. A member of the Saudi Air Force fatally shot 3 people and wounded 8 others at a U.S. naval base in the state of Florida on Friday. The FBI is investigating and reportedly examining whether it was terror-related. The shooter was a Saudi military trainee and was at the base to study aviation. He was shot dead at the scene by officers. Unconfirmed reports suggest that the perpetrator published an anti-American manifesto prior to the attack. Here's RT America contributor Molly Barrows.
The FBI is now taking the lead on this, which is interesting because as a Saudi national, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, though, told reporters that the Saudi Arabian government needs to make things better, quote unquote, for the victims.
One of the things that I talked to the president about is, given that this was a foreign national in the employ of a foreign service, and there'll be time to do this, but obviously the government of Saudi Arabia needs to make things better for these victims.
Naval Air Station Pensacola, base security and local law enforcement got the call that there was an active shooter on the base. Local sheriff's deputies were among the first to respond, and they're reporting that the shooting happened in a classroom building on the base, covering 2 floors. It's had a huge impact on the Pensacola community. This is a military town. This base is the heart of this community in many, many ways. A lot of people either had relatives that were enlisted or they work for the base.
This has been a very, very difficult day for us, for our families, for the Navy family here. There was some real heroism today.
This is the second shooting at a Navy base in 3 days. There was one at the Joint Base Pearl Harbor Hickman on Wednesday. A sailor opened fire there, killed 2 other shipyard workers before killing himself. They don't have that motive as well, but it's all under investigation.
Donald Trump says he's spoken to the Saudi monarch about the deadly event and was told the shooter does not represent the true feelings that the Saudi people have for the United States.
King Salman of Saudi Arabia just called to express his sincere condolences and give his sympathies to the families and friends of the warriors who were killed and wounded in the attack. The king said that the Saudi people are greatly angered by the barbaric actions of the shooter, and that this person in no way, shape, or form represents the feelings of the Saudi people who love the American people so much.
Trump will try to downplay the Saudi role in this. And that if it were, I think it's correct to say that if it was another country that President Trump did not have such close ties with, he would be strongly denouncing this as something he may even, you could imagine Trump seeking to cut off ties with the country. So if it was a different foreign national, you could very well see him impulsively taking action to dramatically change relations. But the fact that one of President Trump's close supporters in Congress, Matt Gaetz, is calling this terrorism could complicate things a bit for the president.
It's been a tense Saturday in the French capital as strikes against plans to overhaul the pension system continued for the 3rd day in a row. There have been massive nationwide demonstrations since Thursday affecting schools, hospitals and public transport. Officers used tear gas to disperse the crowds, with the most violent rallies occurring in Paris, where reports suggest that around 1 million have been involved in the strike action since it began. Protests have also been happening against rising fuel taxes, with 10 major motorways blocked off by trucks, causing huge traffic disruption. North Korea's UN envoy signalled that the country won't go ahead with Washington's plan to make it denuclearize, while saying extended talks with the United States are not needed and simply a trick for the Americans to show that Donald Trump is putting in the hard miles.
We do not need to have lengthy talks with the US now, and denuclearization is already off the negotiating table.
We have the most powerful military we've ever had, and we are by far the most powerful country in the world, and hopefully we don't have to use it. But if we do, we will use it.
North Korea's strongest warning yet over its nuclear program comes as the United States and South Korea kickstart talks on diplomacy building with Pyongyang. Tensions have been building with America, threatening more sanctions early next year. North Korea has called on Washington to rethink its policy of demanding unilateral changes. Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un have met 3 times since June 2018, but talks have made little progress. Last hour, former US diplomat Jim Jatras told me he thinks Trump's chances of a breakthrough on North Korea are fading.
2 words come to mind. One is dangerous and the other one is sad. Dangerous because it seems we're getting back to the kind of nuclear brinksmanship that we saw maybe in 2017. Sad because I think that President Trump really wanted to, as he says, make a deal, that he thought he could break the deadlock with a personal relationship with Chairman Kim. He was undermined by his own appointees, and we saw this especially in the Hanoi summit which crashed because people like John Bolton, according to all the reports, insisted that the North must denuclearize as a first step toward anything. And of course, that was designed to be a dead end. And let's keep in mind, of course, Trump is under impeachment threat here at home. He has very little room for maneuver. Almost anything he does, somebody accuses him of being a traitor. He cannot make concessions to North Korea. Now I think North Korea is in a position where they will not make any concessions to the United States. Trump basically controls his mouth and his Twitter thumbs, and that's about it. And he cannot deliver on whatever it is he might have wanted to do based on what he said in 2016. And I think we're looking at a very, very dangerous world coming.
All right, so that's what's going on over there. Just more bullshit on North Korea and their nukes. Just more fear-mongering to let people think that, we're going to get nuked. Oh, Jesus, God, no. Such bullshit. Nuclear weapons have always been used to make people think that something's going to happen that's not going to happen. Let's see here. Let's see what Max is talking about over there. Just get a quick financial update, and then I'll be right back to close the show off.
Hi, I'm Max Kaiser. This is Kaiser Report, coming to you from an undisclosed bunker in the middle of nowhere as we get ready for the apocalypse and the zombie infestation. And Elon Musk. How does this all tie together? Let's talk to Stacey.
Well, there was an interesting question asked online, and we're going to look at it here because it's a very good question fitting in with our ongoing themes for the past 10 years. The question is Elon Musk prepping for state failure? This is an article from Marginal Revolution, and they were looking at a tweet stream proposed by Future Pundit, where he asked, have you noticed that Elon Musk is driving development of at least 4 technologies needed for easier living in a failed state? News about power outages in California brought this home. Obviously, he's doing it with the power walls and solar roofs, but not just those. During the electric power outages, the gas stations couldn't pump gas, but someone with a Tesla car could recharge from their power wall. So 3 technologies for a failed state, but there's another. Cheap rocket launchers from SpaceX. Do you see the relevance to failed states, Max?
Let's talk about America. America is a country of rugged individualism and individual sovereignty. We all have our sovereignty as Americans, and Elon Musk is a prototypical American hero because he's giving people back in this country what they deserve and are entitled to by birth, and that is individual sovereignty, to have their own power, their own car, their own vehicle, completely autonomous from the state. Autonomous from the state. You don't need the federal government. The federal government is a luxury that exists at our for our amusement, essentially.
At our consent.
At our consent,
yeah.
Right? There's nothing essential about it. You have local government and state government. Yeah, okay, you need that to some degree. But you don't need anything more than access to the sun, a solar-powered vehicle, energy-powered vehicle, electric battery-powered vehicle, and the technologies developed by Elon Musk. Elon Musk is a guy who's been to the abyss and back. He made billions of dollars as a young man, and he saw the future, probably in some drug-induced hazy kind of vision, hallucination, and he's come back from the future to deliver us Americans to a state of our natural existence of individual sovereignty.
Well, all primates, of course, have evolved from South Africa. That's where all the great experiments in humankind has come from. And it makes sense that he would be from South Africa here in America to rescue us from our primitive ways that will kill us if we don't evolve. And Marginal Revolution points out some of the other technologies he's developing and why they're so important to an individual and to a society. how you can protect yourself. Solar panels plus the Tesla give you mobility, even if Saudi Arabia goes up in smoke and world shipping lines are shut down. Remember, that's how our federal governments, that's how our national governments and these giant militaries keep us in line. They say, well, if you don't have us, then Saudi Arabia's oil might not get to you, and there's going to be apocalypse, and you're never going to be able to get to Walmart to buy your goods. Well, here they're saying if you have solar panels at your home and fresh water and things like that, you can survive any of that stuff.
Right, we talk about deglobalization, de-dollarization, right? So this is clearly deglobalization on a micro level. In the second half, we talked to Abraham Cambridge of some Sun Exchange in South Africa, and he brings home the point that you can tap into the solar energy and fuel your own existence unencumbered by any state apparatus, which is fantastic.
Part of globalization that keeps us powerful as unique individuals is that we could speak to people around the world. We're not ignorant. We don't rely on one, giant news organization, for example, or our State Department to tell us what's happening in Latin America or Asia or anywhere else in the world. We have internet access. We could speak to people around the world. And he points out here in this article, Starlink, Musk's plan for 12,000 or more cheap, high-speed internet satellites, will free the internet from reliance on any terrestrial government. And you already see the beginning of the splintering of the internet as parts of it get handed off, like .org. That domain name has been handed off to private equity, so that's going to be like crushing. That's one of the beginning of the privatization of parts of the internet, and it's already starting to create divides there. But if we have satellites, we can still communicate with people around the world. And if you've ever seen an apocalyptic film like Bird Box or something, you need to communicate with other people, any survivors out there of whatever our governments and military are going to, bring upon us.
Right. Those railguns, by the way, can launch a satellite into space from a stationary position on Earth. You don't need a rocket to blast into outer space. You can launch the projectile from base on Earth using a railgun to put that satellite into space. So that'll give an enormous ability to put these satellites. And again, individual sovereignty. Now, the perfect currency for this is Bitcoin because it's sovereign and it's frictionless. It's a store of value. You can move it around for virtually no money cost to move it back and forth.
And it's a cashless society,
so
Max.
Elon Musk and Bitcoin is like a match made in heaven. I'm sure he'll hook up with the guy who runs Twitter, Jack Dorsey, at some point, to create some applications and financial products to go with the Elon Musk individual sovereignty revolution.
Well, actually, I saw Jack Dorsey is in Ethiopia, and he tweeted at Elon Musk and said, hey, why not you bring some Teslas down here to Ethiopia? He was talking to a woman who runs an organization there on all electric stuff, bringing electric power there. And so,
right.
They're already communicating.
These two could reconfigure the world toward individual sovereignty. So it's a distribution of wealth. They're into wealth distribution, energy distribution, into deglobalization, de-dollarization. I think those two guys could, and maybe Peter Thiel to some degree, although he seems conflicted somewhat, but he could also be part of the mix.
If you're driving around in this post-apocalyptic world with failed states, of course, you need to protect yourself from the many, many neighbors of yours who will not have protected themselves, who do not have Bitcoin, who do not have gold, who do not have solar panels, and haven't thought to, they had always relied on the Fed to bail them out, had always relied on the government to shoot dead anybody in the world that they don't like. So now that's not there anymore, so you need a giant truck, a Mad Max truck, and Musk's latest venture, the truck, certainly fits the theme. And even if the demonstration didn't go as well as planned, isn't it interesting that the truck is advertised as bulletproof? Mad Max would be pleased.
We're heading into reverse Hunger Games. In the reverse Hunger Games, the billionaires are being hunted. And you've got your Cybertruck, you've got your solar panels, and you're individually sovereign. And these billionaires come around with their begging bowls, trying to get more fiat money. We want more fiat money. And they're out in the no man's land.
Well, speaking of apocalypse, the ongoing apocalypse in the fracking sector, just as we had pointed out, and of course we got in trouble from the big state about pointing out the truth and telling you to prepare yourself, fracking blows up investors again. Phase 2 of the Great American Shale Oil and Gas Bust. So in 2019, through this third quarter, 32 oil and gas drillers have filed for bankruptcy. That makes 200 since 2015, and all the latest SEC filings are showing the enormity of the losses that are going on. As we've said, they've never made money in the 10 years of fracking that has existed in the U.S. Never, annually, have they ever made money. Some individual producers have with the sweetest spots, but there are very few sweet spots. Chesapeake has been burning cash ever since it started fracking. To feed its cash burn machine, it has borrowed large amounts and has been buckling under its debt for years, selling assets to raise cash and keep drilling for another day. But its debt is still nearly $10 billion. Its shares closed on Friday at 59 cents, which is down like 90-something%. On November 5th, in an SEC filing, it warned of its own demise unless oil and gas prices surge into the sky ASAP. Quote, if continued depressed prices persist, combined with the scheduled reductions in the leverage ratio covenant, our ability to comply with the leverage ratio covenant during the next 12 months will be adversely affected, which raises substantial doubt about our ability to continue as a going concern.
I.e., we're bankrupt.
Yeah.
All right, it's a lot of gobbledygook to just say we're bankrupt, then we're going bankrupt, then we're going to need a bailout. You're going to have to clean up this mess we created. Fracking, as we pointed out, was never a viable business, but it was a great story. And the story was we would need to be energy independent from those bad guys in the Middle East. And so people poured money into this story. The same way people poured money into the WeWork story, because the founder said, I'm going to have a global real estate play. The global real estate market is X trillions of dollars. I'm going to get 5% of it or 10% of it. The company's going to be worth, $10 trillion. And the story sold because money is dispensed to people with good stories. It's not dispensed to people who have good business plans. You need a good story because most of the people with most of the money are beyond looking to make money. They're looking to be entertained. They're looking to get a good story. And so WeWork was a great story, and it was a $48 billion catastrophe. Fracking was a great story. It's exciting. We're going to beat the Saudis. We're going to become the #1 energy producer. And you're like, where do I send my money? It's a great story. The business plan was non-existent. They'll never, ever make money. They're all going to go bankrupt, but you would feel better about yourself doing it.
Well, the articles that he's looking at in this piece from Wall Street, they actually talk, I think it's from Wall Street Journal or Bloomberg, one of the financial press, and they actually talk about the billionaires that have been wiped out because there was the first crash, as he talks, this is phase 2. Phase
or
1
run over
was
while they're walking their dog.
Through 16. During remember the big crash in the oil prices, and a load of billionaires poured billions. They talk about two brothers that lost $1 billion by throwing $1 billion at the fracking thing, which they thought at the bottom in 2015 through 2016. But as they point out here, like Whiting Petroleum, which was one of these big fracking plays, their shares were $370 in August of 2014. Today, they're $5.34. So that's worse than any of those ICOs or altcoins.
Hey, look, I was a stockbroker for many years, and sometimes you have to take the role of priest, where someone shows up with a lot of money and they're riddled with guilt.
They want to lose it.
And you need to relieve them of their guilt and show them how to lose all that money in a fracking stock. Okay? We take the commission, I'll be happy to do so, to keep the Church of Wall Street going. And you've been relieved of your guilt in the form of being disabused of your wealth. And the cycle continues in all its glorious.
You often talk about your days on Wall Street when Houston became a see-through city because of that oil crash back then. Well, what you're seeing in Houston again in the third quarter, vacancy rates in the business sector, the office vacancy rate is at 24% in Houston right now, because of this wipeout going on in the fracking and oil sector.
Right, and the thing with Houston,
I don't think we heard that on the
energy
news.
Market that recovered in large part because of Enron, and Enron had the answer that they were going to financialize everything. Then that was a spectacular flame out. Of course, $80 billion evaporated in one day. And now during this crisis, you'll see another savior appear, another Enron-like company, because memory is short. We've totally forgotten about Enron. There'll be another Enron-like company that'll arise from the ashes and will propose some monetization of all these problems to deliver the Wall Street crowd the dividends that they so richly don't deserve, and the cycle will continue.
And by the way, investors will have to come to grapple with reality that their money was drilled into the ground and is gone.
But you are closer to God. So stay tuned. Much more coming your way after this.
All right, that was the financial update there. We didn't hear anything about about this fracking failure. I'm pretty sure I didn't. But then again, I try to stay away from the lies and misdirection and deception of the system. Very good, very nice to not hear the garbage with their magic bullshit. All right, so what's next here? Keeping up with China, U.S. Navy orders $22 billion worth of submarines. Starving people, all kinds of other horrific things going on, but $22 billion for submarines. And this is a happy story here. Kamala Harris's decline began when Tulsi Gabbard blasted her in the July debate. So we know that Tulsi Gabbard's not going to be the president. She's not going to be standing on the other side of Trump debating for the presidency, the CEO of the United States Corporation. Chart shows that Harris presidential odds began to plummet immediately after Tulsi Gabbard destroyed her in a July Democratic presidential debate. Harris announced that she was quitting the campaign trail today, citing financial problems. Her campaign had also been beset by inner turmoil, which means that Kamala is a bitch. She is exactly what, I guess, behind the scenes as she is on the scene, a totalitarian who, spits out the, climate change and all this other stuff. I mean, she's a lovely woman. I didn't know that she was 56. Very attractive. But then again, what we see is another creation of the system, another lawyer, another demon that puts people in prison for marijuana and all of these other benign things that you can put somebody behind bars for. But just another one of these mongrels. And there are many on this Democratic Party. I mean, Trump's a mongrel too. He doesn't want to admit it, but he's a mongrel. Who's, apparently making America great again. And I don't really care whether he is or not. I don't really care whether he is or not. If these people think that Trump's making America great again for them, was America great? Like America is a corporation. And of course, the perfect person to run a corporation would be Donald Trump. So again, nothing personal against him. He's actually quite entertaining, which is what all this political bullshit is. Entertainment. That's all it is. To look at Nancy Pelosi up there. Impeachment. Our very civilization is at risk. I mean, are you fucking serious? Are you idiot? You are an idiot. And nobody wants to hear anything that you fucking have to say. And anyone who praises you for doing and saying what you did this week is a fucking moron. Like those over at MSNBC, those on CNN, her bravery, her blah, blah, blah. Fuck off. Fuck off. So goodbye, Kamala. Goodbye, Kamala. Go put people in jail for smoking marijuana cigarettes. You're doing you're doing a great job in the corporation. Keep on being what you are. Keep on being your person. Jeffrey Epstein's longtime banker found dead from hanging immediately ruled a suicide. Corporate banker Thomas Bowers, who ran the U.S. division of private wealth management for Deutsche Bank, reportedly committed suicide last month at the age of 55 by hanging himself with a rope in his California residence. Bizarre. Bizarre. As the OPCW is accused of false reporting, United States propaganda jumps to its help. An internal organization published 2 false reports and got caught in the act, but as the false reports are in the U.S. interest, a U.S.-sponsored propaganda organization is set out to muddle the issue. As the effort comes under fire, the New York Times jumps in to give the cover-up effort some extra help, as we imagine it would. More fake news. Fake news has been around forever, people. It's been around forever. Walter Cronkite, as far back as you can go. William Randolph Hearst, fake news. After his mysterious death, the media scrambles to get its story straight about White Helmet's founder, James Lamizille. On November 11, 2019, the British founder of the notorious White Helmets, the saviors, he died in Istanbul. The circumstances surrounding his death immediately elicited a flurry of Turkish and corporate media reports, many of them contradictory, as the details of his final hours came to light. Oh, the White Helmets are here to save everyone. The White Helmets are here. Asset forfeiture and the destruction of American liberty, which, is there ever any liberty? For centuries, it has been an established tenet of Western jurisprudence that a person cannot be punished for a crime unless the government first convicts him of the crime in a court of law. After the Constitution, which doesn't really apply to us because we are not the people, after the Constitution, again, doesn't apply to us, called the federal government into existence, our American ancestors demanded that this principle be enshrined in the Bill of Rights because they were convinced that federal officials would end up violating it. So asset forfeiture, it means they take your shit before they determine whether you're guilty or not. They take your car, they take your house, they take whatever they want. I wonder what kind of scumbag or what type or what group of people would participate in such a thing. Let's see. Let's go. Let's do a little bit more. Jacob Hornberger via the future of Feed'em. Feed'em. Oh, that's what our future is going to be. It's going to be loaded with fees. Let's see here. No person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on presentment or indictment of a grand jury, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. But here's the thing. This makes complete and total sense because the Constitution does not apply to these people. So they can pull you over and take whatever they want. It doesn't matter whether you're innocent. It doesn't matter whether you're guilty. This is a clear sign. So Jacob Hornberger doesn't understand this, or if he does, then he sucks bad. Okay? So whatever you're going to read in this story, it doesn't apply to us because we are already property. So whatever we have belongs to them as well. So they might as well just take it. Right? There you go. Figured out. Another story that goes out there that makes it seem like, asset forfeiture and the destruction of liberty. Kone, or Kone, to put facial recognition and Alexa listening devices in elevators. The good old days of elevator music being a minor distraction is about to change. VentureBeat reports that elevators of the future will have virtual windows, voice-activated controls, music streaming, and more. Tonight on World News Radio Voice. New Jersey bill would allow customers to opt out of smart meter technology, undermine federal program. A bill filed in the New Jersey Assembly would allow utility customers in the state. God, who does the checking here, the spelling check, to opt out of installing smart meter technology on homes and businesses. Passage of this bill would enable New Jersey residents to protect their own privacy, and it would take a step toward blocking a federal program in effect. Nice. Let's see here. I'm going to check out that one in greater detail. Prince Andrew's bombshell email to Ghislaine Maxwell uncovered. Buried emails from Prince Andrew have revealed the under fire Duke was asking close friend Maxwell for information on his accuser. Who is my accuser? Oh, there he is. There's Jeffrey in 2000. Never before seen photographs have surfaced of Andrew at the Ascot Racecourse with Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein. In 2000, buried emails have been revealed. Emails between Prince Andrew and G-Max, we'll just call her, uncovered in a BBC documentary, have thrown doubt on his claim that he did not recall meeting his accuser, Virginia Giuffre, in 2001. The BBC's Panorama aired a bombshell interview with the former sex slave who alleges she was trafficked by a convicted pedophile, Epstein, and made to have sex with Prince Andrew 3 times in 2001 and 2002 when she was 17 years old. Giuffre, then known as Virginia Roberts, first made the claims she had sex with Prince Andrew in 2015. The new Panorama interview contained explicit details of the night. She alleges she was made to have sex with Prince Andrew in March 2001, including claims that it didn't last very long, the whole entire procedure. So, Google has 10,000 employees censoring YouTube videos, some of them starting to believe conspiracy theories. YouTube CEO Susan Wojcicki tells Leslie Stahl what the video platform is doing about hate speech in an interview Sunday on the CBS News Magazine program, 60 Minutes, more propaganda over the years. Great program if you believe in the empire. I used to watch and be like, wow, this is pretty cool. But now I'm like, it's fucking bullshit. Wojcicki, I don't even know how to spell whatever. Woj. We'll just call her Susan Woj. Told 60 Minutes that Google employs 10,000 people to focus on controversial content. Again, people starving to death out there, and so many other things happening in the U.S. Corporation. But let's do this. Hate, because I hate. No place for hate. She describes their schedule, which includes time for therapy. Stahl also said there are reports that the monitors are beginning to buy the conspiracy. Of course they are, because it just makes sense. It just makes sense. FBI renews quest to find U.S. citizen among most wanted terrorists in the world. He was born and raised in San Diego. But now the FBI and federal prosecutors in Southern California believe 37-year-old Jihad Sarwan Mostafa is the highest-ranking United States citizen fighting overseas with a foreign terrorist organization. Yes, yes, yes. Rioters shot and killed at protest, Iran admits for the first time. And of course, China has accused the U.S. and other elements of creating unrest in their corporation. But this is just part of the whole thing. China is going to be like, yeah, the U.S. is doing this. Let's fight. War. World War Try. World War Try. World War Try. Bring it on. Bring it on. Okay, attention smart TV owners, the FBI has some warnings for you. Activist post, maybe you should have held on to your box TV after all. I don't even want to know. I don't want to know. School cop arrested for allegedly raping child he was tasked with protecting. While most parents of school children in the United States Corporation will take comfort in knowing that a police officer is at their child's school, and all too often school cops are caught committing the vilest of offenses. As the following case out of Clearwater County illustrates, protection and safety are the last thing at least one student of Bagley High School received from her school cop. Let's see what that is that he was providing there from the Free Thought Project. Neil Dolan, 31, a deputy with the Clearwater County Sheriff's Office, was charged last week with multiple counts of criminal sexual misconduct after a 9th grader came forward and told investigators that this armed man in his full police uniform forced them to have sex with him inside the school office. His alleged victim was just 15 years old at the time of the assault. According to the Bemidji Pioneer, the assault allegedly occurred the last day of school in early June of 2017. Dolan was a school resource officer at Bagley High for the past 8 years. The complaint does not identify the victim by name or gender. However, it said the victim was in the 9th grade. More on that over at Blacklisted News. Iran wants U.S. to pay $130 billion in damages for inciting riots and other crimes against the nation. Tehran has said that the U.S. should offer compensation to ordinary citizens whose lives have been damaged during the violent protests openly backed by Washington. Of course, if you can't go to war or create some kind of conflict, you do it by subversion. Let's see if they get that 130 bill. Corporate America's debt load is nearing 10 trillion, a record 47% of all of the overall economy. And experts around the world are sounding the alarm. They're sounding the alarm. They're like, the Business Insider, until debt tears us apart. Of course, in a recession half as severe as 2008 financial crisis, corporate debt at risk, which is owned by firms that can't cover the interest expense with their profits, could increase to 19 trillion, or almost 40% of the total corporate debt in major economies, the IMF said. The IMF riot. BlackRock, the $1 trillion asset manager, said in a report in October that the Better Business Bureau rated bonds, the lowest bracket of the investment grade debt, now accounts for more than 50% of the market compared to 17% in 2001. Of course, we're headed for some kind of really effed up collapse, Scientists are playing sounds underwater to bring dead coral reefs back to life. Got to get those coral reefs back. And if they're doing it for a good reason, then I'm all for it. I'm not even joking. Bring those corals back. They're beautiful. They're beautiful. They're just lovely. And we need them. What is the song? How does the song go? It's like, coral reefs, come back to life. Coral reefs, come back to life. I'm going to write a song. About the coral reefs. UN study finds world's highest rate of child detention under Obama. What? He was such a nice man. How can you say that about Barack Obama? The world's highest rate of children in detention was under the Obama administration. This is an outrage. How can you say something that's so true? 63% of all U.S. jobs created since 1990 have been low-wage jobs. If you have a good-paying job, you should probably try to hold on to it as hard as you can, because those types of jobs are steadily becoming more and more rare. Big Brother is watching. Chinese city with 2.6 million cameras is world's most heavily surveilled. Cities around the world are scaling up their use of surveillance cameras and facial recognition systems. But which ones are watching their citizens most closely? Most close to them, Svide. The FBI uncovers even more Clinton emails. Judicial Watch today released a court filing that reveals the FBI found more Clinton emails it recently turned over to the State Department for review, which will probably never even be reviewed. Let's see where that goes. I'm going to send her to jail is what I'm going to do. My name's Donald. I'm Donald Trump. I'm going to send her to jail. That's what I'm going to do. But I'm going to go to Kmart and I'm going to buy some underwear and I'm going to send her to jail. In the November, that'll be in the new world, the November, not November. It'll be Yes-Vember. I don't want to hear no anymore. Yes-Vember. So be it. On November 15th, 2019 filing, the State Department informs the court that the FBI located additional Clinton emails that potentially had not been previously released. And from her girlfriend saying, I wish you'd come over here and give me some of that lovin'. California plans forced internment and asset seizure to solve homeless crisis. California's growing homeless crisis has made headlines over the past year. Diseases are rampant, and state and local governments have failed to do anything to solve the problem. They failed to do anything to solve the problem.